Get on your tinfoil hats, folks, 'cause it's Conspiracy Corner time.
Oh, jeez.
I'm Ryan. I'm joined today by Kyle Lefty Beard
and Ricky, master of all things horror Bosma.
Really? This is what we're doing?
and we are doing our conspiracy side story. Welcome back to part 2 of our intro to UFOs and UAP series. We're going to hit on the interesting, more rabbit hole-y side of UAPs today. Keeping on track with aliens and the conspiracies that revolve around them, this is where you sit down, you go through the information, maybe you get in the right kind of mindset to drudge through half of this kind of thing, however you do that, whether it be medicinal or whatever, but it's thick.
Oh, yeah.
And some of them are, let's say, out there and weird. So, for me, even without the evidence that we have obviously looked at and everything else, they're still aliens. Like,
There's got to be something.
yeah.
Because all the things that just randomly happen, or, oh, here's a crash, and then all of a sudden the government's just like, whoa, shh, hang on.
Right.
Don't let anybody know about this. Well, why do that? Like, I get the whole, mass panic and worldwide panic and whatever, but...
Well, but it's the covering up that I think makes things...
Yeah, like, instead of covering up, put it more towards a layman's terms, instead of just trying to put a sheet over it and going, you don't see this.
Right, because I think we would react a lot better to, hey, we found something, we don't know what it is, we're going to research it and put out, as we go, than just, there's nothing here.
Right, like, okay, well, hey guys, I know you saw that great big flash in the sky, well, see, the gas is lifting off of the...
Do you mean the weather balloons?
Yeah, the weather balloons, or, the fog from the swamp reacted in the sky differently, and it caused a bright flash out of nowhere due to some weird... Like, they come with this huge...
Like, hey...
fake cover-up.
Fire the writer that's making up your excuses
Because
for
they
you.
are terrible.
You'll save a shitload of money.
Find a 3-year-old and tell them you have to figure out a way to make this not what it is, otherwise you'll get in trouble, and you will have a flawless
Right.
point to point to point and end and beginning. Like,
Santa Claus.
yeah, they will tell you where Santa Claus lives, what he was wearing when they first met him, and his wife. Plus, they talked about all the different elves and stuff and went back to the workshop. They have been there, done that, seen this, and they have it all cleaned up with alibis. But this writer guy just can't seem to...
Swamp gas.
Yeah, swamp gas.
We're in the middle of the desert. Well, swamp gas travels with, the equilateral triangle.
See, it was just...
Weather streams.
You were hallucinating a swamp, and the gases from that swamp blew up in the sky, and it caused a flash.
Yeah. Come on, guys. Well, like, obviously, there's life out in the universe.
Yeah, because there's no way, like, me having a Christian background, I had a really hard time believing that there was life anywhere else besides Earth. But, it never states that there was only life created here. This is just how it was created here.
Right.
So, now that I'm getting more outside of these things and looking around, it's like, well, there's a very high possibility of... There's no way that there's only one Earth.
Yeah, and I think, like, NASA and all them have released that they find life on Mars, and everybody's like, oh, aliens! Hold on. Yes, it's technically extraterrestrial.
Yeah.
But it could mean they find single-celled. It could mean they find bacteria. That,
Yeah.
So there is...
Oh, look, there's COVID on Mars.
Yeah, don't do it.
Uh-oh.
Don't do it.
Uh-oh, here we go. Where did we get COVID?
The Weird Boys know in no way, shape, or form are disavowing any knowledge of COVID. the
random conspiracies.
Again, I'm not touching any conspiracy in the last 15 years, man.
Nope.
It's too hot.
Like Mars.
I know. I 100%. We will be covering the faked moon landings and all those different kind of theories out there. And I hate even calling them theories. When you argue with flat earthers or anything like that, and you start
There's
going,
always an excuse.
it's not even. It's your job to prove to me I'm not right. That's not how science works.
No, you have to prove to me that you are right.
Like,
That's part of it. Hey, this bottle's green. Why? Let me show you. It's not This
green.
bottle's green. Oh, is it? I think it's blue. No, you think it's blue because of this.
yeah.
Well, can you prove to me that it's green? No. It's not that I have to prove to you that it's green. I just have to prove to you that this bottle is blue.
Sure.
Welcome to Flat Earth.
I mean, like, there are so many revolving around space and all those. And again, we will touch those, but, like, God, it hurts sometimes.
It's a donut hole now.
Yeah. The moon's a spaceship.
That killed me. Oh.
I mean,
At least we can land on a spaceship.
no,
How many other people landed on a spaceship?
it's not a space. No, we didn't go. Which I don't think there needs to be the other information given about that one besides we never went to the moon. It was made in a Hollywood studio. I don't know how more in depth you can go into that theory.
Well, other than who was behind it and why, but I'd rather not.
And China just came back from the moon. They went twice since we got, because people are like, oh, wow, just go
Allegedly.
back. Sorry, allegedly. Not even allegedly, damn it. They brought racks back this time. They are actually mining up there now. And I guess we're planning another trip.
Allegedly.
Well, if we've been to the moon, why haven't we gone back?
Why we haven't been back? It's just not cost efficient to go back. It's not. Has been no reason.
Yeah, theoretically, we found nothing there of use or of value to us other than the fact that we went there and came back.
However,
Floating rock.
we might be going back, from what I've read, but we are looking to where we haven't been. That's why they're focusing on Mars.
Yeah.
The next closest thing that we can obtainably reach, and if we've obviously been there because of the rover, allegedly. And there are lots of interesting things coming out of Mars, whether they see where water may have been or possible structures.
Well, here's my problem with that is I don't want to see the interesting things that are coming from Mars.
No,
I don't.
You don't want that proof yet?
No, I am perfectly okay with that shit staying over there.
Well,
Found a dragon.
again, according to our friend in Israel, there's a secret underground base at Mars, and that's where some of our astronauts and the main base for the UFOs is.
I mean, how do you think it gets repaired if it breaks on Mars?
I don't know.
So,
Musk is very close to going. Very. But you're still... I don't know how... obviously, we could look it up real quick, but I don't know how long it would take for us to go there. It's got to be years.
Where's that? Mars?
Yeah. It's got to be years.
Oh, yeah.
so what? It would have made sense if they'd just taken pictures on the way back so we could show the flat earthers that it's really round.
No, because you'd still only have a flat picture of the Earth. And they're still going to tell you it's faked.
Oh, yeah.
Who's to say they're-
You're not going to convince them otherwise.
Yeah. Everything you can come up with. Look, they took a picture in space. You're assuming they're in space.
Allegedly.
I mean, you can't, man. There is no
You can't. No.
logic. Well, that's the horrible part about half of them is that they can't even agree with each other on their their idea.
Because you have different, like, class groups of flat Earth.
Oh yeah.
You have, oh no, the Earth is flat because I said so. The Earth is flat because I saw it. And then you have the Earth is a freaking donut.
There are a few holes in the donut Earth theory that just one. Well, and then you have flat donut,
Yeah.
and then you have hollow flat donut. There's just, again, some of these conspiracies out there, man. Like,
Yeah, just some are just unfathomable. I mean, there are some that, I guess, with the right circumstances,
Or mindset.
could be possible.
because Hollow Earth is also on that list, which goes into the Earth is obviously hollow. You find a tunnel down in Antarctica, which is why the nasally Krauts went down there originally, was because this is where the pathway to this ancient civilization is, where all this technology and everything else.
You know, if it was Hollow Earth, if you were in the center of the ring and you were to look up, I would like to say that it would freak me out. It'd be like a Halo scene.
They're not saying that the depth of it though, so I mean it's still not like, but apparently yes, Antarctica, which even then, the holes in Antarctica. Well, if Antarctica just goes around the edge of the world, then how is there a hole in Antarctica? Like, again, like it does start to fall out. Like, where is your holes and how do you get to the middles and this, that, the other when they contradict each other? But like,
And what's on the other side?
that would be the mirror universe, sir. Which then they tie in the Mandela effect and why certain people remember
Why would
certain
you
things
bring in
one
the
way.
Mandela?
Because that one is freaky, and I love it. But they say if you remember something one way and the other people remember it the other way, whatever is in the current stream video that means you are from the mirror universe. The problem with the flat Earth theory is someone's already blown a hole through it,
Dun dun dun.
because now flat Earth is a donut.
Brought to you by.
Donut holes. Uh-oh. Ricky brought donuts today. Must mean he's in on it.
And of course, if the Earth was flat, the cats would have already knocked everything off of it.
I think the donut Earth revolves into the hollow, because there's a hole that goes through it that gets you to the center, that gets you into the earlier societies and all those. And again, then you go into your base race theory and all the ancient aliens and ancient astronauts.
Here we go. And what race would that be, sir?
Which one of the 6? I don't even know anymore. Now, when you go into races,
Ooh.
I've still yet been able to find source material for the race theories.
Right.
Can't imagine why. Probably just dropped into a different dimension or something.
It's got to be somewhere. So, how someone came up with this information, I still haven't found yet. But you have your grays. You
The
have
most commonly seen. Or
your insectoids. And you have, I think, what is probably my favorite is the reptilians. Who, if you didn't know, are the shapeshifters who have taken over and taken the place of some of the most predominant people in our society. Politicians and stars alike. And if you have not seen the picture of
Mark Zuckerberg?
Zuckerberg, if you have not seen pictures or the video of Mark Zuckerberg blinking sideways.
I just saw a meme on it today where it showed him from like 15 years ago till now, and it's like what happens when you lose your soul, and you just go from he looks like a human being to
Maybe a little reptilian looking like. But there is video evidence out there, sir, of him blinking sideways.
So, we are aware this is going on. Facebook, correct?
You can say whatever you want about Zuckerberg. You just can't say
Yeah.
without being deleted. Anyway. There's also, I believe, Miley Cyrus videotapes out there of her blinking sideways.
What?
And this is the internet.
Not Miley.
Makes it real.
She's a national treasure.
It's a party in the U.S. Damn it. So reptilians, overlords, are they, again, the theory that they've been in place here for a while and they have definitely taken these spots of power. Now, it's not necessarily, from what I've seen, anybody come out to say that it's to maybe do takeovers.
So here's my issue with this theory.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Is if they have the ability to cloak themselves and blend in with all the things in the universe, why us?
Going back to the Israeli scientist, research, sir. Maybe we are the only kind of us in the universe.
Us as in...
Mammalia. If they're insectoid, gray, and whatnot, maybe the way that we, like, if you go down the path of where we were seated, maybe how we evolved to fit this environment and everything else is different than anywhere else. Who knows?
Yeah.
We'll have to catch one. And
What if knowledge was just a race? So everybody started off at the same time, right? So all the animals, boom, start. And now it's just a race of whoever gets to there first gets the knowledge. And then on Earth, it just happened to be us, the humans. On other planets, it could have been a type of grasshopper or...
Hence the insectoids.
Yeah.
could be. But, again, I don't know.
Me
But
either.
one of the options could be that they're here to study how we evolved into where we are. Or the way we travel. Maybe it's not as, maybe theirs isn't as efficient as ours. Or if you
travel
continue
is
down the truth, it's obvious that we are a worker class
Oh,
and
the worker
we
bees.
are mining the gold for them so that they can make their starships and their shields go.
Think about it. All these ancient civilizations had great wealth. And their wealth consisted of what? Gold.
Gold and precious gems, which seems to have disappeared.
Maybe a trade, per se?
Yeah. Well, and again, you're still attracted to shiny things.
Yeah.
Now, granted, that's mostly because of ADD, but there. Who's to say an ancient civilization can even comprehend what it's worth?
Well,
Yeah.
maybe it's not for what it's worth, it's for what it's used for.
Right.
Which we don't know. Metal, again, these precious metals still highly conductive.
Very.
And I believe somebody had pointed out that we had batteries long before we actually did.
Correct.
Way back in Egypt and clay pots.
Right.
Where do we get that technology?
Maybe a trade?
How do
By
we...
accident.
Yeah. And,
Or an accidental push.
well, that's all it would take. And when you go into, we'll go a little nerdy, Star Trek and their universe, one of their biggest directives is if they find a civilization that isn't quite as evolved into space travel, they don't teach, interfere, or do anything else because you don't know what you're going to do to that. Now, we might not have that, or we could have been placed here to farm these precious metals.
Right.
And they gave us a way to survive. However you look at it, I mean, there is still definitely just a history of amazingness and unexplained around aliens and everything else.
But, continuing on.
If our Israeli friend is correct, this definitely opens up some of those to be investigated.
Yeah.
Now, whether you go down Nephilim Watchers and all those, or even, we kind of alluded to Ancient Aliens,
Yeah.
where if you were a pre-modern civilization, and there are actually recordings of UAPs from early back as early Rome, where they saw bright lights in the sky, and they obviously thought that they were their gods.
Yeah.
One could see that.
Well,
Then you go into the true NWO goes down the road of the reptilians and this, that, the other. And they are trying to maintain us to where we actually cannot get into space so that we can't discover the truth.
sorry, fellas, but that is now a privatized industry.
Yeah. Unless Musk is one of them.
Don't do it.
And you're also assuming we go to space.
Correct.
It's
Have you ever been?
I cannot say I've been to space. I would love to go for free.
For free.
I'm not ever gonna be able to pay for it.
Oh, you know how you can go for free? Just get abducted.
You know,
There's a little side problem with that. It's called probing. Allegedly.
supposedly.
Allegedly. I'm pretty sure I don't want to be involved in.
Your proof that, you know, they are real. You felt it.
You know, as much as I would
Before it
love
was real.
for this podcast to take off like that, not willing to make my proof that way.
Right.
And when it happens, you gotta come back and tell us all about it.
No.
You go,
Okay.
they
so
have their stories and they
we'll
have
put
their...
it this way. Say I go out and I do something to somebody else and I make a lie for it. And I get everybody to believe this lie. Now I have to continue to get everybody to believe this lie because now I've already gone too far into this lie that I have to make sure that I have every last little base covered so nobody else cracks my lie.
Well,
So now
that's
we have
usually-
all these excuses.
Yeah, that's usually the sniff test for a conspiracy theorist. And when people say, "Well, do you actually believe it?" And it's like realize how many people would have to keep a secret. And
But then again, there comes a point where no. So this person knows the secret, but then he explains it to these people in some other way, shape, or form. So only this person knows what's really going on, or what happened, or where the lie came from. But nope, everybody else that believes him, they don't know what the actual truth is.
yeah, but you're talking the level of scientists and everything else, and are like 50 years ago, when there was just a few people that quote unquote went up to space. Yeah, I could say 3 people kept a secret that we didn't actually go. And the astronauts were actors.
They actually have a movie on that.
And to me, I can see why, okay, we would want to go to the moon. That's one of the ways to rally around the U.S. and get ahead of the Cold War and this, that, the other. But to fake it would probably cost just as much as to go.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, Hollywood's pretty good at what they do.
In the 40s, though?
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen some of the monster movies that came out of the 40s and 50s, and pretty sure I still see the strings under the bed. But, like, now, with everything we've sent up there and everything else, to keep that lie going would hold a whole lot of more
How many satellites
people.
do we have
Right.
rotating the Earth? Have you ever heard of anything rotating a flat disk?
Well, yeah, because obviously we haven't been to space.
Oh yeah, well then again, there's a CD player.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. There's a new flat earther theory. We are on a CD player on a disc that spins and rotates from the center.
We are going to get so much hate mail. And again, I will gladly talk to anybody who hasn't. And I love hearing these things. Like, I love hearing their stories and where they believe it. But, like, at the end of the day, like,
Well, put it this way.
it is up to you whether
I
you believe it.
personally have never seen the Earth.
Right.
It just makes sense that, it's round. I see flat spots on it, which obviously means it's like a weird cracked marble, but
Just
it's still got to be round, right?
well, and it's
I mean, I haven't been in space to see myself.
I haven't talked to anybody yet that also has an explanation for the other planets. So, like, when you go out and look at the other planets, be like, well, they're clearly round.
Yeah. Or are you only seeing a flat surface?
Like, why does the moon look round? Yeah, are you gonna say that they constantly stay?
But notice you only see the one side of the moon. It's just a flat.
But
disk.
you're gonna tell me that that flat side of the moon is always what's facing us?
Yeah.
No, there's no way.
Well, that's why there's a dark side of the moon, because as the moon rotates, it's always looking at us.
Yeah, but that would mean that each night in multiple different points of the U.S. or the world, that
instead of
flat
having that
space would
random
have to
missing
be,
piece in the center, it's just all a flat disk.
which I mean, I guess technically
Special effects.
in
are
their
a thing.
theories, everything could be stationary. Doesn't mean we rotate. The sun could then rotate us, and who knows? I can't.
You didn't just say that. Oh. We're not the center of the universe, Ryan.
We could be. Well, you'd have to be stationary. That when you look out into the world to have the same image show up in multiple points, that means everything would have to be stationary. And even at that,
Okay, well, look at this flat object.
Here we go.
If this is Earth, and this is rotating constantly,
yes, but they also rotate like this.
yeah. Well,
That's
what
still
this is.
technically stationary. It just
Well,
it has an orbit. It doesn't
If
rotate.
If it wasn't rotating, then when it was on this side, you'd see the dark side, right? But because it's actually slowly rotating,
But
it's
that would mean at
rotating,
one point you see.
you'll never see a line because it's always flat against you.
Really? This is what we're doing?
That would mean it would be doing flips
No,
because it goes in.
No, it's just rotating. Just going around in a circle, just like this. And you'll never, ever be able to see a flat spot. And doing that motion is literally doing this.
Yeah, but you're also talking that it does this pathway too.
Yeah, it's going around you.
No, it does this.
What do you mean?
When you watch the path of the sun and the moon, they still make an archway on this way.
Mhm.
So that means that everywhere on the
There's a
earth.
gravitational pull somewhere.
No, gravity doesn't exist. That's a lie too.
No, it isn't. The apple fell on his head. Gravity
No,
exists.
Nope. It's a lie.
Or is that where the donut hole comes in?
Again, I can't. I just can't. And it does take a lot for me to sit through there. But then again, like,
Sometimes there's valid points. Sometimes, I mean, especially when they hit you, well, have you seen it?
I
Or
mean,
have you just seen what everybody else has shown you? Well,
I've seen ships, travel past the horizon line. I've been
never
on
even
the other
seen the
side of
ocean.
the earth.
I've never seen the ocean. I've got no room to talk. I've seen Michigan.
I've seen both oceans. I've seen the other side of the earth. And granted, they have explanations for that too. But that one to me is like, that's
Flip a
where your
coin.
level of conspiracy has to go in, is the way that they flat, the theory is the map is flat and this, that, the other, and they're a lot closer, but because they're trying to cover up the fact that we've not been to outer space and that the earth is actually flat, if the earth was flat, why would you cover it up?
My head is really starting to hurt.
But again,
But
going
then
down,
again, if I were to go on a plane and fly in a straight line in any direction and make sure that I don't
and see
veer
the
off
contour
course,
of the earth change.
well, not only that, eventually I'd meet in the same spot that I started.
No.
If you continue
Well,
to go
in
on
reality, yes.
but is it reality
But
or is it a trick?
you're right. Maybe we just live in the Matrix. Maybe it's a computer simulated program. Who knows? Maybe on a different reality, the earth is flat. Maybe they're from the other reality. But they say that the GPS satellites are hacked so that planes are always constantly thinking this, that, the other, and everybody's always in on this thing. But, like, again, now you're adding more people to have to into the conspiracy to keep it a secret because someone would have to be running the GPS.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yes, we could have faked the moon landing to rally around the U.S. and, you know, we don't want the Russians to beat us and this, that, the other. And that could be a very small story, but to say that we haven't been there since and we haven't done this, that, the other, and we haven't been to outer space, and because they're trying to hide the fact that the Earth is flat, like, no. There's way too many people
You know,
involved.
it'd be cool is if somebody really wanted to just finally go, you know what? I'm going to prove that the Earth is round. And then they take a string, tie it to one spot on the planet, and go all the way around the planet, the other side, and then pull on the string and watch the other end move. Ta-da, round Earth.
Oh, no, there'd be so many people that say he's faked it. Because
Oh.
all you'd have to do is have someone on the other end of the string that goes off camera and saying, see, I'm pulling this end.
Yeah, but if I went out and I just traveled around the world with this, like, 50-ton ball of yarn or whatever.
I mean, at the same time, like, obviously you couldn't.
Sure you could. We got
Because,
ships.
well, no, like I'm saying, like, you could take your string / rope or whatever and travel all the way around. But when you get back to where you started, pulling it would not make the other end move necessarily.
No, but if I continued to go in a straight line and I met on the other side and I could literally tie that rope,
Yeah.
that would be crazy.
I'm actually surprised we haven't. But, like, at the same time, you know, some guy's walking out in the middle of a field somewhere and tripping over and going, put this there and get rid
Clip,
of
clip.
it. Like,
Be cut in like 14 different areas, and it's like, oh no, now we have to figure out where to connect it. Let's follow the line.
but,
Why did
like,
you throw it away? I told you the Earth is flat. Quit trying.
I just can't.
All right.
There's actually two guys that I guess were trying to make rockets to be able to go up, and I think his name was Mad Mike Hughes. So these guys, like, they're going out and they trying to build a backyard rocket to be able to go up and say, look, it's flat, this, that, the other. And, like, I was reading the Flat Earth Society had started way back when, in 1956, and this started as almost a joke. Like, the guy started the Flat Earth Society and was like, oh.
Well,
And then
now that I've
people
made it,
join.
people are actually joining me. Like, now I got to really try
Man,
to come up with things to make it so people continue to join this joke. But at the
Yes.
same time, if it's not a joke, my apologies. But for now, until proven otherwise, I believe it's a joke.
And again, if anybody wants to call in and have conversations with us and go over, you know, I will gladly talk to you and anything else. But
I cannot promise a straight face.
yeah, it's going to take a lot. But, you know, and so you go into these things and it's, again, back to aliens. The monoliths and everything were pretty cool. And even though they're kind of getting disproven.
I just realized, or found today, they found out who did the monolith. It's a group of 4 radical artists that they just put 4 different, they put up 4. So they had the one in Utah, they had the one that was by the old ancient ruins in Russia.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's 2 other ones I forgot the location of, but so remember when I showed you or sent you the video of the guy that was like, oh well, when I went out there to go find it, all of a sudden 4 guys showed up to remove it.
Yeah.
Well, there was one other guy besides the 4 guys that actually did it, and when he was confronted about it, he was like, well, no, when you say you, do you mean us? So there's like a group of people that are out here for doing it, and then they sent in proof of, you know, okay, well, these are our monoliths.
How'd they get it in Russia?
It's I don't know. I really don't know.
Like, I could do the Utah. I could do the California.
Mhm.
And then wherever the fourth one was. But then it's like, how'd you go to Russia?
You have planes. But then to have it just spontaneously show up, poof.
Overnight, yeah. Like,
But I guess it's all these guys are.
yeah, because even the guys, they went out on, like, Google Earth. And they said they couldn't. I mean, Google Earth is.
Well, they went on Google Earth and they found that that monolith had been in Utah since 2016.
Oh. Because I thought they had like been.
It's
looking
just
to
they
send-
just now suddenly were like, oh, hey, and then it blew up. So now these artists are like, well, if you don't want us to put one out, we require a little. Otherwise, there's going to be random people just flocking out to your area to see this random ass metal monolith.
So we don't need to call Bob and Jeremy and all of them about UFOs.
No.
Darn. I was really hoping. You know, we watched the Joe Rogans the other day. Shout out. And listening to those 2 episodes, the one with guy's name and Bob.
I watched those. There, I just watched the 5 minutes right there.
Yeah, like 100% convinced.
Oh.
They're like, there's life out there.
No, well, that's all I watched.
Oh no, yeah. It's 100% convinced. Like,
Well, there's got to be, like we said at the start, you know, there's got to be something else besides this. Like, there's no possible way that we have this gigantic, massive, huge universe and the 0.0000001% chance
yeah,
of us being made is the only time this ever happened. Like, there's got to be life somewhere.
it's arrogance.
Yeah.
It really is. Like, and again, I know that I consider that 99% of stories about UFOs and abductions and everything else are probably false.
Mhm.
Still, that 1%. Like, I was reading. I want to say there is some 3,000, and I'll double check that number, but 3,000 UFO sightings and abductions reported a day. And to me, that's crazy. So 1%, that's 30 are real. If you even go to 1%, yeah,
Even 0.1%.
0.1%, 3.
3 out of 30,000.
Yeah.
Granted, that's a small number, but even if any of those were real, but I mean,
Yeah. And I mean, like, you talk about, so when you're looking at, like, abduction stories, to me, it's, I'm not trying to discredit anyone who's ever had one or whatever else, but, like, it is very hard to get me on board. Like, it's just, but when you want to talk about, like, Betty and Bernie Hill, probably the most legit I've heard. And I mean, then you go down the road of military sightings. Are you going to tell me your military personnel aren't freaking like...
I've seen so many of those where, you know, you got the guys, not even really military personnel, like actual NASA people that are floating around in the spacecrafts going, hey, there's just this random metal floating object that's just hovering over the ocean at X amount of height. What do we do about this?
And that was one of the other ones I was watching too. They had one of the military colonels that was on, and they showed the radar of like, okay, here's this actual UFO, unexplained flying object, which is they've obviously changed to UAP, unexplained aerial phenomenon. And they start talking about these capsules and this, that, the other, and they're like, okay, so the radar loses it in like 0.5 seconds, and that doesn't happen. You know, and they start doing this, that, the other, and they're like, and again, they're at no point in time for me, when you listen to some of these, like again, these head experts or whatever else, they don't say aliens. It is legitimately unexplained aerial phenomenons. And to me, that's like, okay, these are 100% valid then. They're not saying...
This craft.
Yeah.
This craft.
They're just going out telling their stories. Okay, then these are real to me in my mind. When someone tells me grays or reptilians, or, you know, they start going into specifics about races and abductions and this, that, the other, like, dude, I want to believe you. I 100% want to believe
But
you.
if this was a thing, this would be a much more well-known thing, especially if you have full history background. These are these people, and here's their colony. Like,
But like you have the battle for L.A.
mm,
You have the Rendlesham Forest that happened in the beginning of the Cold War. Like, I just got my little book out now that just started, and there's probably 20 different well-documented UAP, encounters. And these are just a simple Google search of encounters. And these are what pop up. And we started looking into. And to me, that again, just...
see, the only thing that kind of skews me from using like Google or YouTube is just the video editing aspects that we have
Oh, yeah.
come to
But,
possess.
like, you're talking history.
Yes.
Like, the ones I've looked up are not from...
Well, like the Bermuda Triangle phenomena, where they had the fighter jet that flew through and gave this whole story of, oh, like I was in a tunnel, I felt like I was being time warped, and that with that being a military personnel, it's like these are the guys that you have hired and trained to report back every detail of every last thing they came across and witnessed.
Right.
And you're gonna go, well, he was just
Right, making up a story.
yeah.
Like, you actually, you get in trouble for doing that.
Yeah, like, and where is he getting any of this information? Like, how would he just come up with this literally on the fly?
Yeah, like, there are obviously good creative writers out there. I don't think they're that good.
Right.
Like,
Especially to report it into your commander or whatever.
well, again, if you find that if they find out you're falsifying that, which, I mean, I guess how could they? Because they're not going to go fly through the Bermuda Triangle.
Right.
Like, whatever. But, and I mean, you know, we'll go back and on one of these other weekends and touch a little bit more on some of these stories too, a little bit more in depth. But, like, there's so many that you just, like, again,
Where do you start?
yeah, well, yeah. Where do you start? Where do you classify? How do you, split them into subsections? How do you want to attack one of these things? Which to me is why I love, like, again, the genre that we cover in general.
Mm-hmm.
Because you start linking all these, then you start looking into, did they exist in
Or do
World
they
War II?
exist?
Was that the kind of aircraft that the Nazis were supposedly looking into down
Right.
in Antarctica?
Yeah, because in the art of war, it's always, trying to get the upper hand or looking for any sort of
And are
outside
these,
source.
maybe they're not aliens, maybe or extraterrestrials, maybe they are just a kind of futuristic spacecraft that we have fallen into. But I also happen to have heard on multiple sources that some of the technology that pops out recently has kind of already been here.
Mm-hmm.
And
Super glass.
yeah, but then, again, when we popped up Wikipedia and its wonderfulness the other day, you're talking pre-Christianity sightings that they've found. Roman Empire, where they've had glowing shuttles and chariots across the sky that came towards the people and then ascended. So, I mean, like...
I've even got one of those stories.
Yeah. Well, I think that's part of what usually confirms it for me that I actually saw something. Is that because I'll do the same thing whether we're out on investigation or anything else. Like, okay, if I see something, I keep it to myself. But then when you look over, you're going back over your notes, and somebody else brings it up.
Yeah. And it's like, oh wait,
Oh,
you actually
you saw that too?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's that confirmation for me that it was real.
Like, part of me doesn't want that confirmation
Right.
ever. Like, oh, yep, I was just tired. I was a kid. I was seeing things, and then I bring up the moment, and my parents are like, "Oh yeah, this thing happened. Oh, that happened.
Well, shit.
Yeah, like oh,
Like, did you see that ghost? Not unless you saw it.
Right. I don't know. Did you see that? What, that ghost over there? Okay, you saw it too. Shit. Can we go now? I'm ready to go.
What's that creepy thing over there? Let's go find it.
No, let's not go find it. Let's get the fuck away from it and not go see
now
what
we
it
gotta
does.
delete it because you dropped an F-bomb.
Nah, you can cut that out.
Yeah, I can cut everything out. All 34 minutes.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, but yeah, I mean, like, UFOs are one of those two that, like, sorry, UAPs are one of those that it's still in my mind, that same area as hauntings and other stuff,
Mm-hmm.
or any superstitions. I can't discredit the person who saw what they saw because I wasn't there.
Right.
Now we're out together and you say, "Oh man, did you see the UFO?" I'd be like, I didn't see it." I could discredit you at that point. I can't even discredit you at that point.
No, because if I was looking in the sky and you weren't, and hey, did you just see that thing up there? And you happen to not see it?
So, like, when people go out and they play the debunking game,
Mm.
and there's, I don't see anything. Well,
Oh, you must have
obviously,
seen this.
you're
Or
not gonna sit out
well,
in the exact same point and like,
You
yeah, I
can't
can
literally
see-
go to the point in time I was in, ever.
right.
Or maybe we
It's
could.
like, this is where I saw it. Well, I don't see any now. Well, there's no guarantee things come back. Now, when you have things like Skinwalker Ranch or Bridgewater Triangle that have multiple sightings, people go out there and they don't happen to see one. They don't happen to see one. They don't happen to see one. Well, man, maybe you're not meant to see one. So then we go into that side of,
What if there's something out there that kind of feels who you are, what your intentions are, and feeds off of it?
this is one of my favorite theories revolving around the weird, is that what if
We're in a petri dish.
UFOs, Bigfoots, cryptids, and all these are a psychic phenomenon? And when you think about it, like, if there was a different reality, and when you see these things, it's when the veil between the two realities thins. So we could be seen essentially in that parallel universe. Their technology is different. So their ships look like our UFOs, rods, whatever. You could be seeing a glimpse over of that. Or a ghost might be a person walking down, a shimmer of that reality. Same with cryptids, it's a crossover, which is why not everybody always sees the same thing, because obviously people's brains are wired differently. And I really love that theory. Like, that's my, man, that could be true. I could go down that road.
I don't know.
So in the end, the Men in Black, they're quasi-government agencies who supposedly harass, threaten, or even assassinate witnesses to keep them quiet about what they've seen. It's implied that they could possibly also be aliens themselves and not actually attached to our government. So if I were an alien, come down, somebody spotted us, send these Men in Black. And one of the stories, but yeah, you send someone out and they become comic books and everything else. There was a story of one of the guys, and they made a sighting report, and afterwards some of these people showed up, and while we were there they were acting really strangely. They said they would move weird, and it was almost robotic when they were moving. And towards the end, he said, I need to go. I am running out of energy. And she had to help him off the couch and out the door. And then when she turned around to get him some water or something to see if he was all right, turned around again, he was gone. So, again, stories that we can't confirm, but so again, I think that's a really good start, though.
Mm.
bringing up all the different aliens. Oh, shit. The Philadelphia experiment, which Ricky brought up. That's another in there that, man, I don't know how they cover it up. I don't know how that they would confirm or did not even deny what happened.
Right.
So the Philadelphia experiment is this guy was tracking the ship while they were trying to work on stealth. And at one point it disappears. Shows up later in the New York harbor. And the crew is like half fused into the side of the ship, and then the other half of them are just like cut in half. To me, it sounds like they went through a wormhole or a Stargate, which Stargate again, another conspiracy. But the Stargate's a wormhole that they could have traveled through. That when they rematerialized on the other side, they weren't necessarily put back in the same order.
Kind of suck.
What's that?
So that would kind of suck.
Yeah, you'd be dead, so I don't think you'd care.
Well, you had to die somehow.
And like you hear about that kind of thing, and there long history, obviously, of government covers up and everything else of things that we don't necessarily need to know. But then once you do, like somebody does uncover it, like to me, you do just need to give it up the pooch, because like it's worse to try to cover those things up. Like you might be able to deny it for a little bit, but in the end, like you're probably caught, man.
Right.
But obviously we'll get this cleaned up and a little bit more added here and there. I think that's a real good start to our tinfoil hat side stories.
Books, yeah.
Make sure to check out our Facebook page and our YouTube. We're also on Buzzsprout now, which links us to our new multimedias of Spotify and all those. So multiple ways you can hear the wonderfulness of the weird. And as always, thanks for listening. I'm Ryan.
I'm Lefty.
Stay weird. Have you ever noticed when something's happening in the media, like when you're on a COVID or, whatever happens in the election or this, that, the other, and I think what leads into part of these conspiracies on why people don't think they exist or why they think it's a bigger cover-up is COVID started happening this year, right?
Mm-hmm.
And people started getting all this misinformation and this, that, the other. Well, then all of a sudden, what happened to the media release? Boom.
Right.
UFOs. Confirmed. New York Times had written an article about the spaceship and this, that, the other. And then something else is happening, and boom. So it's almost like it is almost used as like a not pull the wool over your eyes, but hey, look over here at this shiny thing that you guys have been talking about.
Shiny.
Like, over here. And to me, that's, I don't know, man. Like, obviously, the media is not going to start covering cryptids or UFOs or anything in the pseudoscience genre, but like when one story does kind of make it like the monolith or whatever, it just kind of feels like, are you using this to distract us from what's going on in reality, or like
Right. Like, what is this? Are we just
like, is this the clickbait for the again, the parapsychology or the paranormal normal people? Like,
Right.
hey, don't look into what we're doing over here. Don't get the conspiracy theories going on over there.
basically like a storefront?
Yeah, like,
Well.
That being said, I think that's a
My coat.
good place to wrap it up today.
as always, check out our Facebook page, our YouTube, and now you can check us out on Buzzsprout. But signing out, I'm Ryan.
I'm Lefty.
Thanks for joining us today. Stay weird.